thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
Hey yo, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Review It Rob Show, man. Hope everybody out there is doing great. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Review It Rob, coming at you with some fun goodies this week. As always, mandatory to each episode, you're gonna get some DC talk. You're gonna get some that's DC Comics talk, not DC like politics talks. Who has the time? We're talking fun stuff over here. So mandatory DC comic stuff. We got some horror stuff as always on the show, and then some other goody news bits out there. And then I'm going to review the film Babylon for you. Been thinking about this movie for a while. Finally got the chance to check it out. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on that one. That'll be this week's review. So I appreciate you joining in. Let's have some fun with this episode, man. If you're just hit that like and subscribe, that'd be awesome, man. Share the show with your friends, family, pets, college dorm room things. I don't know. But if you can get the show out there, that'd be awesome. And follow the Throw Me Podcast Network on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe over there, get the notification set up. My brother, Tombstone Josh, who has a great show here on the Throw Me Podcast Network with the Metal Groove, he and I did a little Disnoids action show we used to do a long time ago. We did a Disnoids video on our Throw Me Podcast Network YouTube right now called the Haunted Mansion Review, where we talk about the teaser trailer for the Haunted Mansion, give our thoughts on that, as well as the other Haunted Mansion stuff, like the Eddie Murphy movie and the Muppets movie that most recently came out, and then talk some other fun stuff Disney-wise there, so you can check that out on Throw Me Podcast Network's YouTube, as well as all kinds of goodies over there, man. Video games, trailer reactions, other shows, slasher reports, all that good stuff, man, over there on Throw Me Podcast Network's YouTube. So join that, hit that like, that subscribe, share wherever you can share it, and get it out there, man. Appreciate you all joining in to this episode, and let's jump into Babylon. Film released late last year in December. It is rated R for drug use, bloody violence, graphic nudity, pervasive language, strong and crude sexual content. It is a comedy drama film. Runs in at 3 hours and 9 minutes. Jesus. I watched this on Paramount Plus. The film is a tale of an outsized ambition and outrageous excess. Babylon traces the rise and fall of multiple characters during an era of unbridled decadence and depravity in early Hollywood. Rotten Tomatoes has the film at a critic score of 56%, while the audience score is at a 52%, so very close there. IMDb has it at a much more favorable score of 7.3 out of 10. So, what are my thoughts on the film? And as always, I do not spoil movies. I just give you my honest thoughts after watching the film. And if you decide to see it or not see it, that is, of course, up to you, lovely thrillers. I'd never tell somebody not to watch a movie because we all have differing opinions. That's why I share those critic scores. I really don't care what Rotten Tomatoes has to say about a film, because a lot of films I love, they score very poorly. So, I just share them to let it be known everybody has differing opinions and feelings about things, and just get that out there. So Babylon. This is a movie that was kind of on my radar. I wouldn't say it was fully on my radar, but I remember seeing a trailer for it once or twice, maybe. Definitely when I was at the theater watching a movie, I'm sure it came up, and that was about it. And I think that's one of the things I'm going to talk about here with the film that I think led to it not doing so well theater-wise. Is I don't remember a whole lot of marketing for this movie. Like I said, it was on my radar, but in like the slightest of manners. Mostly because Margot Robbie's in it, and I'm a Margot Robbie fan. So I knew of it mostly because of her, and then of course Brad Pitt's in it. And Brad Pitt at this point's like a freaking Hollywood legend, right? So, you notice things that he does, especially last year. He had a pretty dang good year last year. So it was on the radar, more out of like a movie nerdness or fanness as opposed to marketing. Because again, I don't remember seeing this movie marketed all that much, and a pretty bad time to release a movie like this. It was released on December 23rd, I want to say. Let me pull that up again real quick. I feel like I saw December 23rd earlier. Yeah, it was released on December 23rd. This is not a I know you're going to release some movies around Christmas time and all that stuff because you want to get families going to the movie theater. That is a thing that happens. And, of course, movie theaters are back in a big bad way last year. And this is not a movie you watch around Christmas time. I mean, I just named off all the stuff there. I mean, bloody violence, graphic nudity, pervasive language, crude sexual content, which movie is wild. But it's not a movie you watch around this time of year. Let alone, I don't think anybody around this time of year is going to the movie theater for 3 hours to watch one movie. Um, that I think is the things that led to this movie being not received as well. Um, it's just it was a bad time, and marketing didn't seem to be the best. Um, but for me, watching the movie, and I went into this movie seeing that it was 3 hours long. I had no idea it was that long. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting this movie to be that long. But I will say what it ended up doing is it did keep me interested. And they did a good job of keeping me interested because the film, and I kind of touched on it there in the synopsis, it follows multiple characters. It doesn't just stick with Margot or stick with Brad Pitt. It follows four characters throughout the movie. Of course, Margot and Brad being the bigger characters of the film, but they're not the only ones. There's two other characters in the movie that you follow their story and everything, and I like that. I like that idea of following multiple characters, especially with a movie that's 3 hours long. But it never seems to get um, hard to follow. Of course, again, I talk around myself not to spoil anything, but it's never too hard to really follow along with what's happening here. There are four stories that are connected, but end up in different areas and different, you know, endings and all that stuff. And I like how they did that. I thought they did a really good job with that. The film does a lot of good things and kept me interested. I don't know what the negative reviews are for necessarily. It would have to, I guess, have to do with the length of the film. And remember last year we had the Batman that was like 3 hours long. I want to say there was another movie that was at least 3 hours long. And of course, the Batman was like one of my favorite films last year. And of course, you give me Batman, I could watch a 3 hour long Batman movie. This movie is about the movie industry around the 20s, and the silent era of films, the early era of films, where of course, silent films. Nobody's talking on screen. They put up the little cue cards on the screen, and all that stuff. Like think Nosferatu or movies like that. So silent pictures, but they move along throughout the film into the next decade and into the talkies, as it's referred to in the movies, when movies started going away from the silent pictures and into the talking, and no longer just acting, acting as in physical manner or words and all that stuff is now introduced here. Now you can hear the words instead of reading them on the screen, which I like that. I thought that was a good progression as well. And Margot's doing, she's acting her ass off in the movie. And again, I like Margot. I think she's a really good actress, and she's acting her ass off in it. Brad Pitt is excellent in it as well. Shout out to Diego Calva, who plays Manny in the film. He's one of our other main characters in the film, and one of the people we follow the story for. And he did a fantastic job in the movie. And again, I suck with names, so I messes up. But as well, Jonathan Adepo, who played Sydney in the film, fantastic as well. So really good acting in the movie, and a story that is captivating enough. Now, the movie is freaking wild. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Again, I can read it off to you. It is rated R, and it is a hard R for sure in this movie. A lot of drug use, a lot of bloody violence, a lot of graphic nudity, especially right in the get-go. Pervasive language, strong, crude sexual content. Yes, all through a lot of the movie. Mostly like the beginning of the movie. As the movie gets going on, you get into like the other hour of the film, or the other half of the movie. It's not as bad. Still some violence in there and all that stuff, but the graphic nudity is mostly in the beginning of the film, in the beginning portions of the movie, as opposed to the second half of the movie, because we're getting into other things we're going on here. And the story is really, it can tug on your heartstrings. It can pull you in. Like I said, it kept me interested for the whole 3 hours. Now, I watched it today as recording this episode on a Monday, so I watched the first like half of it. Monday Night Raw came on, so I got away from the movie to watch Raw, and then went back to the movie afterwards. And again, I found it to be a good movie. I don't read I don't know what the other people are saying about the movie. I read those scores there. That is, give or take, but I enjoyed the movie. Is it a movie I'm going to go back and watch over and over again? Probably not. But I did like it. I think the story was, interesting enough as again to say, it kept me interested and, wanting to see how things turned out because again, we're following four characters. You want to see how everything turns out with these four characters. And the story will get you. The story can get you. It does get to some heavy points as it goes on, and some things you got to deal with. So I like it. I'm a movie nerd, so seeing a movie about a movie being made is fun. It's an interesting little quirk, I guess. But I liked that aspect, especially when they're showing, how things can go wrong while filming, or how things can go amazing while filming. That was good stuff. And again, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there's a really good scene of with Margot where she has to do the scene multiple times and all that stuff. And it's interesting to see that played out and all that. And again, so not for the faint of heart. Again, it is a hard R movie for sure. And, you got to know that going in, but and you got to, set aside 3 hours. But I like the movie. I think what they put together here was pretty solid and enjoyable. But again, a story it's gonna take you in some directions. It's weird as hell at points. It really is. Not weird and wild, like wild weird, at points for sure. But still made sense to me. I'm wild and weird, so maybe it won't make sense to everybody, but it still made sense to me to where we were going. I'm like, God, this is insane. Like I was watching it, I'm like, this is getting insane, but it's enjoyable. Like I enjoyed the movie, and I know I just said I don't know how many times I'll ever watch the movie again. I'm sure I'll throw it on at some point in time again, but like I liked it. Like I had a good enough time watching it. In a way, like the movie's gonna take you to some areas. It's gonna mess with you. It's gonna mess with your head a little bit. It's gonna get you a little sad at times. It's gonna get you happy. It's gonna do what a movie's supposed to do. And personally, I enjoyed the film. You know, I can do without the graphic nudity stuff and crude sexual content and all that stuff. I can do without some of it. Some of the parts I'm like, holy crap, what is going on? But overall, I think it was a fine film and definitely worth the time to watch, especially if you have Paramount Plus. Go ahead and throw it on there. Enjoy it. I mean, if you like Margot, she's doing a great job in the movie. Brad Pitt, it's good in the movie. Like the whole cast is good, man. I'm not gonna name everybody. You can look up the cast if you want to. There's a lot of other names in here that you'll be fans of, and I don't think it's surprising. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the names because I didn't watch the trailer or anything before going back into this movie, so I don't know who's shown in the trailer and who's not shown in the trailer. So I don't want to spoil anything, of course. But really good cast, really solid cast. We got some more names in there that you know and like. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Babylon, man. I say give it a go, give it a try. Again, 3 hours long. You gotta give it a good bit of time. But it is interesting. I will say that it kept me again for like the fifth time. It kept me interested throughout the movie and wanting to see how things turned out, and then just be prepared for a wild ride in this movie. But that is my thoughts on Babylon, man. If you saw it, let me know what your thoughts were down there in the comments. Let me know what you were feeling there. But there you go with my thoughts on Babylon. Going from there, let's go ahead and jump into DC Comics news. And of course, when it comes to DC, main talk is going to be James Gunn, as he has clarified multiple times in Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. He's going to answer you if you got a question that he feels like he needs to answer. So, one of the things we learned is that somebody asked him about how much of Chapter 1 slate he revealed. Because remember, Chapter 1, a good slate out there. I have a video up on the Third Wing Podcast Network's YouTube where I go through all of that. And he said that less than half of Chapter 1 slate has been revealed, which we knew that wasn't all of Chapter 1 going in already. Like I said in that show, he said it as well. We all kind of already knew that wasn't all of Chapter 1, but learning that that's less than half We got a lot of stuff coming in Chapter 1, man. I'm so excited for it. I love it. There's been a rumor going around that Henry Cavill has been cast as Frankenstein in the Creature Commando project that's part of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. James Gunn has clarified that no, that is false. Completely false. We have our Frankenstein, our first choice, and it's not Henry. Was never discussed with him. So there you go. Internet making up things again. And then somebody asked about Matthew Lillard because going back in James Gunn history, they worked together on Scooby Doo. And somebody said Matthew Lillard would be great as Plastic Man. And James Gunn said that he and Matthew Lillard sat in a trailer with the head of Warner Brothers back on the set of Scooby Doo back in 2000 and told him we wanted to do a Plastic Man movie, which is interesting. Funny how things come back up. Matthew Lillard, I think a lot of people love Matthew Lillard. Some people have kind of gotten tired of him recently with the Scream stuff and him wanting his character back and how can his character come back and all that stuff. It's a horror movie. I mean, characters come back out of nowhere in horror movies all the time. But I like Matthew Lillard. I mean, it'd be fun if he played Plastic Man. Why not? Of course, that was back in 2000 when that happened. I don't know what the idea would be now if they would want to go back into that realm or do it again. But to think that they were thinking about it back then, now James Gunn's a co-CEO of DC Studios. Maybe it's possible. Maybe that's something to not be shocked by if we ever hear that casting. Speaking of casting, let's go into the Elseworlds. HBO Max's Batman spinoff series, The Penguin, has cast Clancy Brown in the role of Salvatore Maroni, which will be a reoccurring role on the Penguin series. Of course, Salvatore Maroni, notorious Gotham City crime boss, and was referred to multiple times in the Batman movie, so we knew he was part of the lore there. The Penguin will consist of 8 episodes. The series is said to continue the story of the film and is believed to take place immediately after the events of the Batman. Can't wait to see it, man. Some set photos have come out recently of that, and I try to avoid that as much as possible. I don't want to see set photos. It's just when you're scrolling through social media, it just pops up. You know, unfortunately, like I've seen some Joker 2 photos, and I'm like, I don't want to see that. Scroll past really quickly, so I didn't see much of really what it was there, but they are out there. If you want to see them, it's up to you. But I can't wait, man. I'm excited for this show. Colin Farrell, talented actor, man, did a great job as the Penguin in the Batman movie, so I can't wait to see where they go from here. And again, that's cool to see the continuation between the movie going to the show's storyline. That's really awesome. I can't wait to see how that all plays out. Michael B. Jordan has been doing some press for Creed 3, obviously, and he was asked about Val Zod Superman. Remember, there is a Superman movie that's been rumored around Michael B. Jordan for quite some time. It was even announced by J.J. Abrams, I want to say. And an interviewer, of course, while doing press for uh, the Creed 3 movie, one of the interviewers asked Michael B. Jordan about Val Zod. The interviewer said, "You were reported to be involved with a Val Zod Superman," which Michael B. Jordan went, and then a PR rep you can hear in the background says, "We're not going to talk about that, sorry." The interviewer's like, "I had to try," and Michael B. Jordan, being the awesome person he was, he's like, "That's a noble tip, man." So it's out there, and people are talking about it, and people are starting to ask him about it, and obviously PR rep doesn't want him talking about it. Does that mean something's going on there? A separate interview, Michael B. Jordan shared a blunt response to the conversation, pointing out that he did not, quote, even know about no rumors, end quote. So they're talking about it. Things are out there. We're going to see where that ends up going. We know that James Gunn's DC slate has Superman Legacy on the way, which is not the same story. So this would be an Elseworld story if they still continue to make it. And again, the PR person saying they're not going to touch on that kind of leads us into thinking that there's something going on there. We'll just have to wait and see in the end what ends up happening there. Let's see. Also, wait and see what happens in the end. What if this happens or not? Constantine 2 has been highly rumored for quite some time. It was even announced that it was going to happen. And recently, a Warner Brothers spokesperson confirmed to Entertainment Weekly that Constantine 2 is still a go. Keanu Reeves himself has even recently confirmed on Reddit AMA that he has involved in conversations with James Gunn. So he and James Gunn have talked about the Constantine sequel. They are talking about it. He noted to much excitement that he and James Gunn have talked about it. So I would say, why not? I mean, that movie came out, what, 2005? So I haven't seen it since 2005, to be honest with you, but I did enjoy it a lot back then when I saw it, and I do need to rewatch it for sure. But yeah, I mean, just give us Keanu Reeves is the internet's darling, and just why not? What's the real risk here of making the movie? There really isn't any risk whatsoever in making it. So I would say, yeah, go ahead. Again, when you have this Elseworld thing that you're doing, why not? Why not just go ahead and make the film? Make people happy, make Keanu happy. Maybe you can get Keanu into the DCU if you want to. I know there's a lot of fan casting of him as Wolverine. I think I saw some as Ghost Rider, maybe. Um, so yeah, I mean, just do the DC thing, man. Do a Constantine sequel. Why not? Let's get it going. All right, jumping into horror news now. Scream 6 is hitting theaters this week. I do have my ticket. I will see it Thursday night. I will have my review for you on next episode. The boys over there on Slash Report will have their review for you later this week on Friday. Slash Report drops on Fridays. They will be talking Scream 6. Spoiler free, of course, because the movie just came out. You're not going to talk spoilers there. I unfortunately will not be on Slash Report, but again, I'll have my thoughts. I'll probably be in like the comment section while they're recording it. You can always find me in the comment section of the Week Podcast Network stuff. But I will have my thoughts on the film next week's episode. The film 65 is also hitting theaters this week, same day, and I will be seeing that this week as well. So maybe I'll give you a double feature review on next week's episode. But it just seems, why would you release 65 the same day as Scream 6? We know Scream 6 has a huge fan base, and that's just putting it in a bad situation, Um, but I'm highly interested in both movies. I'm more interested in 65 for sure, but I need to see Scream 6 because there are spoilers out there already. Be careful, people, if you're on social media. It's ridiculous out there right now. But anyways, Scream 6 hit theaters this week, so gotta bring that up for the horror talk. And the directors are hopeful for Scream 7 and more films to come, saying, quote, "We hope." Matt Minnelli, Olpin, told Deadline during the premiere, quote, "We want to be watching Scream movies whether we're involved or not for the rest of our lives," end quote. Tyler Gellett agreed that the idea was to continue the franchise, adding, "We're happy it's back." Um, yeah, I mean, Scream's not going to go away anytime soon, I don't think. Now that they found a way to reboot it and requel it and all that good stuff, it's not going to go anywhere. And, the last movie did good, whether I liked it or not, irrelevant. It did well. This movie's on track to do pretty well as well. So I would not be surprised if they do more Scream movies. I mean, this horror franchise. Horror franchises dig deep and go long. That sounded dirty. You're welcome. But you know what I mean? Like horror franchises have multiple sequels, and Scream continuing on after West seemed impossible, but they found something there. And now, of course, this movie's going in a different direction from what we know with the New York background and the New York setting, and Nev is apparently not in the film, but we'll see if Nev's not in the film. There still feels like maybe she's in there somehow. We'll see how that all turns out. I don't know. It just seems weird that Nev is not in a Scream movie. Promising because the Scream movies are so idea repetitive. It's the same thought process over and over again with the Scream movies. And I'm going to be doing a marathon. I'm going to start tomorrow, where I'm going to go back through all the Scream movies, even though I don't necessarily, I guess, need to, since this movie's supposed to be something different. But it is the sixth film in a franchise, so you just might as well go and watch it anyways. Have some fun. And I haven't watched the Scream franchise in quite some time. But, I mean, yeah, of course it will continue on, especially if it makes money. It depends on, what you're hoping to do with future sequels. Are you going to be able to keep Jenna Ortega, who's becoming a massive star? Are you going to keep the same cast? Or do you change it up now? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see how this movie ends up going, and not just money wise, but storyline wise, and it's going to make money. So we'll just have to wait and see what the future of Scream is. But they're hoping to continue after this movie. So there you go. Let's see. Robert Eggers is directing a remake, of course, of Nosferatu and stocking up quite the cast right now. Aaron Tyler Johnson has joined the cast that already includes William Dafoe, Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Emma Corrin, and Lily Rose Depp. What a cast. And now you add in Aaron Tyler Johnson, who you may know. He has the Craven the Hunter movie coming up, but he was also in Bullet Train last year. fantastic movie. Of course, he was in Age of Ultron as Quicksilver. He was in Kick-Ass. The dude's been doing some work. And him joining the cast, he's a good actor. So, God, I can't wait to see this movie. This movie is stacking up to be something really good. It's just, shocking. I mean, everything's being remade, especially in horror realm, but shocking to see somebody doing a Nosferatu movie, and you just want to see how it turns out. So, stacking up quite the cast. Robert Eggers, of course, did The Witch, The Lighthouse, and Northman. So he's got some good backing behind him. We knows how to do a wacky film. So give it we'll give it the good old go and see how it all works out there. But it's looking pretty good right now. Let's see, another video game is being turned into a movie. That seems to be the hot button thing going on in Hollywood. Remember at the time when video games were like, oh no, they're making a movie out of a video game. Yikes. Why are they doing that? That's not going to be good. And it's hard to transition. I mean, because remember, when it comes to video games, you're controlling it. Like you're playing it. You're not going to get that feeling watching a movie. You're not going to get that same feeling. So it's already against the wall, when you're when these movies come to theaters. But it seems to be a trend now that they're going down. I think we have another Mortal Kombat movie on the way. And that last Mortal Kombat movie, not the best, but entertaining enough. There's some really cool moments in it. So, I think it made some good money as well. But it's interesting to see that they're now moving in this realm where they're like, hey, let's keep turning video games into movies. And the latest one is Dead by Daylight. And Blumhouse is behind this as well. And I say behind this as well because Blumhouse is also in the process of making Five Nights at Freddy's into a movie. And I can see that. I can see that. I mean, hell, we had a movie with Nicolas Cage not too long ago, Willy's Wonderland, which I still need to see, where he was like in a possessed Chuck E. Cheese kind of situation. And, that's basically what Five Nights at Freddy's is, That's overnight at a freaking crazy place with animatronics that are out to kill you. That transitions really well. Dead by Daylight is a multiplayer game that's had some IP characters in it. Obviously, this movie's not going to have the IP characters in it. But again, Blumhouse did Halloween, so maybe they can sneak Michael Myers in there somehow. They won't. But, but it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. How they turn that into a thing. It's Atomic Monster and Blumhouse as they continue to team up and develop things together. And we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what they end up doing. Now, Atomic Monster founder and CEO James Wan said, quote, in Dead by Daylight, the Behavior team has created a love letter to the world of horror, building an incredible environment teeming with atmosphere and terrifying villains, perfect for a scary cinematic adaptation. We're big fans of the game at Atomic Monster and are thrilled to be teaming up with Blumhouse to bring this frighteningly world to the big screen. End quote. Yeah, I mean, freaking James Wan and Blumhouse can give you some really good content. So they got a great team behind it, and by all means should be, well done. I mean, it should work. I've never played Dead by Daylight. I've seen my friends play it. It seems interesting, but at the same time, it kind of seems like a lot of the horror games that are around today, where you're like, oh, let's run around and stay away from the killer. Let's not let the killer get us. Let's run around, kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, you can. I'm sure there's a story. Like, there's people much more, a lot more creative than I am that can come up with something for that, and they will. And we'll have to wait and see how it turns out. But again, interesting to see, all these video game adaptations to movies happening now, and can't wait to see how that turns out, man. All right, that's it for horror talk as we jump into the other news before we close out this episode. Starting it off with TMNT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, has released its teaser trailer officially. That is out now. Again, plugging the YouTube here. Zach from Hunter's Podcast and Slash Report and Core Memory Unlocked, and Zach Speakeasy. He did a trailer reaction that is up on the Thrill Me Podcast Network's YouTube right now. If you want to go check that out, looks fun. Looks really good. It's an animated film. I know a lot of people who were clamoring for another live action movie like the early '90s film, and that would be amazing and great. I know we would all love that, but this looks really good, man. I like the style they're going with. It looks good. Not only does it look good, it looks fun. Like it looks really fun. I applaud them for casting kids in the roles of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is a great thing. And they got a pretty strong voice cast with Jackie Chan as Splinter and God, I forget what characters. Seth Rogen and John Cena are playing Bebop and Rocksteady. I don't remember which one was which at the moment. I'm kind of just riffing right now, but strong cast, strong voice cast overall, and again, it looks good. It looks fun, and that's what you want with like a Ninja Turtles property. You want it to be fun. You want to have a good time. And I know like people are like animated movie. I don't know if I want to see that in theaters, but freaking that TMNT movie that came out in the early 2000s. I want to say 2005 as well. So good, man. It is so flarkin' good. I haven't watched it quite some time, but I remember seeing that in theaters and being like, "Oh my god, what a movie!" 2007 is when that came out. But what a good time that movie is, and I'm excited for this one, man. This one has a lot of potential. You got Seth Rogen behind it. I trust Seth Rogen with a lot of stuff. I like Seth Rogen, and it looks good. Just from the teaser alone, it looks really good. So the teaser's done its job. The teaser has sold the movie. And I mean, I'm a nerd. I was gonna see it anyways. I like the Ninja Turtles. I was gonna see it anyways. But I mean, that teaser trailer really drove home the point of, oh, this is gonna be fun, man. This is gonna be a good time. I like it, and I will gladly see that movie in theaters. All right, jumping from that franchise that is getting going to a franchise that just baffles to me that this has been in such limbo for so long. But what is going on with Star Trek 4? I mean, hell, it was announced last year, I want to say, uh, back in February? It was like announced early last year. J.J. Abrams said that the fourth Star Trek film would be coming. And nothing since. Nothing really since, other than it lost its director to go do the Fantastic Four movie, I want to say, over at the MCU. And Chris Pine was asked about this, and Chris Pine is in the same boat as us. It seems as he is unsure what's going on with the franchise and a bit frustrated about it all. He was talking to Esquire, and he said he hasn't heard any news about the long-delayed Star Trek 4, saying, quote, I don't know anything, end quote. Next quote, in Star Trek land, the actors are usually the last people to find out anything. I know costume designers have read scripts before actors, end quote. Wow. And when the fourth film was announced, it was a surprise to the cast. Pine continues going on saying, quote, I would say it's frustrating about being out of the loop. It doesn't really foster the greatest sense of partnership, but it's how it's always been. I love the character, I love the people, I love the franchise, but to try to change the system in which things are created, I just can't do it. I don't have the energy. Um, yeah, man, and it's weird that it's so. Sounds like a lot of backstage drama going on over there with that right now. Continuing on in that interview, Pine said, quote, I'm not sure Star Trek was ever built to do that kind of business. I always thought, why aren't we just appealing to this really rabid fan group and making the movie for a good price and going on our own merry way instead of trying to compete with the Marvels of the world? After the last one came out and didn't do the 1 billion that everybody wanted it to do, and then Anton, of course, I can't spell his last name, Anton Yelnats, passed away. I don't know, it just feels like it's cursed. I guess it kind of does. And Star Trek 4 was slated to release this year on December 22nd, and that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna. There's no way that's gonna happen, and it's insane. Like Star Trek is a huge franchise. Like that's a big franchise, and I mean I'm not somebody who knows everything about Star Trek, but I've enjoyed it, especially those last three movies. Like I don't understand how it's so hard to make this happen, and I think the shows have done very well over on Paramount Plus. When I know Discovery, I just saw something about Discovery's ending, Picard is ending, but those shows have been doing good. And again, not to compare it, but Star Wars is out here doing movies and doing all these successful shows, and it's like Star Wars isn't going anywhere. I mean, is it the Disney backing that Star Trek doesn't have? Is that the problem with keeping this from happening? Like, I don't get it. Like, I really honestly don't get why it's so hard to get that going. Like, again, he mentioned it there, and I'll mention it here, the rabid fan base. Like, you have a fan base. You have Trekkies, There's no reason that you can't I don't know. It makes no sense. It really makes no sense that that movie is just stuck in this world of endless questions. I will say though, Chris Pine has the Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out soon. I didn't know what to think about that movie at first, but I saw this clip of him talking to a corpse, and I'm like, oh, I'm sold. Like I'm sold right here. It's such a hilarious clip, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm into this movie, so I'll definitely see that. And I like Chris Pine. He's a good actor. He's a really good actor, and you know, I, I don't know if he's in the next Wonder Woman movie. We don't even know what the next Wonder Woman movie is. Steve Trevor. I don't know if Steve Trevor is going to be one of the characters that moves into the DCU, or unless they recast or whatnot. I have no idea. That's one of the characters we're not thinking about right now. But yeah, I don't know how you. Yeah, I don't. It makes no sense. Like, get the movie out. Like, start working on the movie, get it out there. There's no reason for it not to be out there. Let's see. Are you hoping for a Detective Pikachu sequel? Well, you're in luck. They are making that. There is going to be another Detective Pikachu movie. I did see that movie once in theaters, I think for my nephew's birthday or something. It's the movie he picked. And I went because movies, you know. I don't remember much of it. I think Ryan Reynolds was the voice of Pikachu. Good on him, man. Pokemon's not my thing. I know it's Pokemon. I'm just poking. Ha! See what I did there? I'm awesome. I know it. You can do a round of applause. I'll wait. Thank you. So yeah, it's getting a sequel, and no word yet on if Ryan Reynolds is back or not. But sequel's in the works. There you go. Oh, all right. Next up, Abel the Weekend Tessife is set to make his feature acting debut in an untitled film that he also co-wrote. The film will also star Jenna Ortega, as I mentioned earlier, very busy lady, and Brian Kehogan, who is the Joker in the Batman, who we believe is the Joker in the Batman. Now, that took me by surprise when it said feature acting debut, because I immediately remember The Idol. And then I started thinking, what the hell's going on with The Idol? Like, I haven't heard a thing about The Idol. I know there was recently some controversy about some scenes that were pitched and they didn't end up shooting that were very vulgar. Um, but I haven't heard anything about that movie since the trailer dropped a long time ago. That's the movie starring, of course, The Weeknd and Lily Rose Depp. And I haven't heard anything about it, you know? And that's my first thought. I'm like, acting debut, he's in that movie. But I guess that movie's not coming out anytime soon, or at least not before this movie, which is untitled. And yeah, I don't know. Now looking it up here, The Idol is expected to hit HBO Max this June. Wow, really? Again, haven't heard anything about that whatsoever, so we'll see how that ends up turning out. But it's a good question of what's going on with The Idol right now. But good on him. I like The Weeknd. Became more of a fan of him because of HHN, of course, Halloween Horror Nights, the fantastic event. They did a themed house for him, and I was like, cool, man. It was a fun time. Still don't understand what the hell's going on, but, what can you do? It's about having fun. And I had fun. So, there you go. It's a new movie with Jenna Ortega in it, which means the world is a good place. All right, and last bit of news here. The Universal Illumination film, The Super Mario Brothers movie, will now hit theaters a couple days earlier. It was expected to hit on April 7th, but it is opening on April 5th now. Cool. Good on them. I'm excited for the movie, man. I mean, one, Jack Black's in it. I love Jack Black, you know. Two, I kind of feel like I need to back up Chris Pratt here, because Chris Pratt's gotten a lot of hate lately, especially for this movie. And again, it's a freaking cartoon. Like, what are we upset about? He's doing a voice for a cartoon character. Like, don't look into the background of other cartoon characters, because, Jesus, this makes you mad. You're gonna be mad about finding out that girl does the voice of Tommy Pickles. You know what I'm saying? If we're so upset about voice acting, but and that's not a shot at voice acting. Like, voice acting is a big deal. I'm just saying, why are we getting upset about the voice of a cartoon character? Like, that's just, the world is weird. Yeah, the world is a very weird place. But I'm interested in that movie. I'm getting more interested in that movie as time goes on. It wasn't like on my hype list or anything like that, but it was always like an interest. Like, oh, cool, Mario. because I played the games back in the day. I had a good time with the games back in the day, and sometimes miss it. Like, man, it'd be cool to play Mario Kart sometimes, but I'm not buying a Nintendo. I'm not buying another game system. Barely have time to play my PS5. I don't need another game system. It's like when I get that itch to want to go to like a flea market and buy an old school Sega Genesis. Like, yeah, man, that'd be awesome. And then I sit there and think about it for a while. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it. I have a PlayStation 5. Why do I need another gaming system? I know there's other people out there who play multiple gaming systems. That's cool. Glad for you. That's awesome. You can do that. I'm PlayStation dude. Like I've been PlayStation since the first one came out, and I will be PlayStation for as long as possible. So why did I go down that road? Jeez, time to end the show. Oh yeah, Mario. Mario's coming out a couple days early. And that's the news, man. So check out Babylon. I say it's worth the check out again. 3 hours. You have to free up some time, but worth the check out. Again, not for the faint of heart, but interesting, interesting, weird, wild movie. Got some DC talk going on. Got some horror talk going on. Scream is hitting this week, man. If you're going to see Scream, let me know. Let us know your thoughts. Again, Slash Report, they will have the review for you up first on Friday this week. And then I will have my review on next week's episode. Maybe double feature review. Planning on seeing 65 this week as well. But that does it for the show, man. Appreciate you taking the time, as always, listening to me babble on with my nerdness about love for the movie realm, and it's awesome. So, thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. Appreciate you all. Please like, subscribe, share, and I will talk to you all next episode, man. Just remember, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.